Okay, very good. It is 7:01 p.m. and we are beginning the Ashland Town Trustees of the Trust Funds quarterly meeting. I will now do a roll call for our attendance. Walter Durack,
Here.
Lisa Rollins,
Here.
and Amanda Loud is also here, so I declare that we have a quorum. I'd like to begin our meeting by welcoming Lisa as our newest trustee. We're very glad to have her. Please note that our minutes tonight do need to reflect that Lisa is in it, and I'll get back to that later because that has to do with getting you on the signatory cards at Meredith Village.
Great. We're glad to be here.
Yeah, we're thrilled. So we have a review of January's minutes. I included those in the first email I sent back out about a week or so ago. Does anyone have any changes to make to the minutes?
I do not, Amanda.
Okay, then those, as far as I'm concerned, I can see that Lisa will probably abstain because she wasn't at the meeting, but I found that they were just very, very good. And so we vote. Oh, I have to call out everything now because we're Zoom. So I have a motion then to accept the minutes. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Roll call. Lisa?
I abstain.
Abstain. Walter?
Yes, aye.
And Amanda's an aye as well. So our minutes of January's meeting have passed. As I said, new business. Welcome to Lisa Rollins, and we'll get back to that. I want to go directly, if I could, to the third point of our agenda and talk about the with the library so that they can leave our meeting. I don't intend you all to have to sit and listen to us. You're welcome to stay, of course. This is a public meeting, but item 3 on our agenda is to meet with the Ashland Library trustees and discuss the Meredith Village Savings Bank checking account and RFF request for funds procedure from the trustees. So we are now in our new era that we were excited about for, in your case, decades, in our case, about a year. And there is a checking account at Meredith Village Savings Bank currently entitled, I think, the Scribner Trust or something like that is on it. I have a signatory authority on it, and I think Lisa does. And Walter, you might too. I think you do.
Yes, I did. Yeah.
So the three of us can sign. I have the checkbook behind me here in my office, and it has a balance of about $5,000, a little over $5,000 in it. Now, the Scribner Trust no longer exists in the form that it was. It does exist in a new form. And the Scribner trustees no longer exist. So Walter has some ideas. We have this $5,000 we need to transfer somehow. I'm not interested in writing any more checks off it. In fact, I've been putting all the phone bills in the library book return. And so if you could get the phone company bills changed to your P.O. Box, Ashland trustees, I'd appreciate that. All the bills I'm getting, I'm throwing into the book return, and which I understand will take a while for this to sort out. But if you could begin now, to actively change that, it would be helpful. So Walter, please tell the trustees your ideas on what to do with this checking account.
Okay, so the money in that checking account technically belongs as part of the Scribner Building and Park Fund, which, if I've got the title 100% correct, is what was approved by the voters on Article 19 earlier this month. So Amanda had suggested in a previous email that maybe we distribute the funds to the library, and that was kind of jumping ahead. And David pointed out correctly that, yeah, we can't exactly just do that. It needs to be part of the fund, and any disbursements need to be requested just like any other entity in town, be it the Memorial Park trustees or the Board of Selectmen, would request disbursement from trust funds or capital reserve funds. My recommendation therein is to take the balance of what is in the Meredith Village Savings Bank account, put it into Vanguard, so it's part of the trust fund, it's all in one place, close the checking account, and that money would be parked in the short-term, what Vanguard calls a settlement fund, which is really just a short-term savings account which covers expenses that you intend to occur in the next 0 to 12 months. So it's not invested in mutual funds that you may or may not need to wait a couple of days for it to settle and write a check out of. You can write a check immediately from it. It's the same as cash. The other recommendation that we have as far as disbursement of funds goes is that this be treated like any other trust fund, capital reserve fund, and chiefly the capital reserve funds, because those are the ones with the most activity. The trustees will be meeting quarterly.
Please leave your message.
And the quarterly schedule will be March, June, September, December. And at those 4 meetings, we take the disbursement requests. Again, those mostly come from the town manager or the board of selectmen. And we write checks from the capital reserve funds to meet those requests. What happens leading up to that is that the town will write the check for the expense out of their general ledger and their general checking account. And then we trustees in turn write a check to the town of Ashland out of the capital reserve fund to reimburse the town for that expense incurred. So my thought was that we would do the same with the library and the money in the Scribner Trust, because that goes towards building and grounds maintenance upkeep.
So what, going forward from having been a library trustee for many, many years myself, and having to, I signed don't ever tell my lawyer or my accountant that I was the one that signed all the documents on that remodel of the Holderness Library. It was Amanda Lau that hired them all. Oh my gosh. But anyway, having been in that position is what I'm trying to say. You will need to kind of be very forward thinking. You may request $5,000, you may request $30,000, whatever, but knowing that you don't need it now, you're going to need it in, June, but before we meet. So you have to kind of give some planning and some forethought about, when you're going to need the funds, and ask for them, maybe 3 months ahead of time. Now, as far as Walter talked about having, the $5,000 and basically what looks, to our eyes like a just a checking account or with interest, some kind of money market fund. That 5,000 is of course very liquid. Getting money that is invested, be it in stocks or bonds, it has the settlement of something like 3 days. So it's not as though, this money is tied up and you can't avail yourself of it. It's, no, that's not true, but it's not a check that can be written and handed to you within minutes. It is a check that can be written and handed to you within about 3 days. But however, we as trustees, we met a lot last year trying to get everything cleaned up, and other towns have their trustees meet 4 times a year, as a standing, thing. That doesn't mean that we can't meet for an emergency. And that's true for the town, and you as well. However, we would like that emergency to be something that we talk about 5 years from now. Oh, remember that emergency that happened when we all had to meet. So it is going to, just like it does with the town. Of course, the town has a deeper coffer than the library does for, writing out and getting reimbursed. But we are asking that you all do kind of make some plans ahead on how you would, when you're going to need the funds, and be ready to give your request, your RFF, to us before our meetings, which are quarterly. How's that going to work for you guys? How do you feel about that?
It might work. Our problem is basically most of the time we have not much in the bank. If
Right.
we're facing a bill for something. Right now, because of the unusual circumstances of the pandemic, we have money left over from last year. We started the year with $15,000, but usually in January, we start the year with like 4 or something like that. That our bank balance has never been as large as it is now. We're now down to 10, but we typically don't carry much money because the only part of the budget that goes to most of the budget is payroll, and it never leaves the town treasury, and except to be paid in wages. So it's just the general expenses part of the budget that is actually conveyed to the library treasury. So this year probably wouldn't be a problem, but some years we just won't have a lot of money if something has to be paid quickly.
But we understand that boilers explode. We understand that that things happen. However, going forward, what to be brutally honest, we do not want to have happen to us as trustees is to be have you come to us with a $300 or $400, $500 bill and say, we need this money now. We just had, we did XYZ and it was $500, to which, we as trustees will roll our eyeballs and say, if you're going to be working on the library building and grounds, we'd ask that you kind of plan ahead a bit. You can even ask for funds if you have no immediate use for them. You could, make your bank account have more in it than it normally does. You could even, and I'm not a library trustee, so I'm going to stop after this last piece of advice, but you can even open up another bank account and have a checking as well as a money market account that does earn interest if you are having $5, $10, $15, $20,000 hanging around, so that you will be able to project, funds for future expenses. This is all new territory. I can say safely that the Scribner trustees did not do this. And so there's not as though I have a ledger that I can hand you and say, here's what the past few years look like. But nonetheless, you've been in the building a long time. You have your own plans. And I'll say one more time, I'm not a library trustee. But I am a trustee of the trust funds, and we meet quarterly to sign checks. And, you're now having to budget things out.
So some suggestions that I might make as a trustee of the trust funds and not a library trustee, to help you with your cash flow. One of the benefits of having this trust fund, unlike a capital reserve fund, you do not have to always request disbursements after the fact. Like a capital reserve fund, the town, when they make a request for distribution, they have to show us a paid invoice. And we as trustees, we don't take a vote as to whether or not we're going to release the funds for that paid invoice, unless, in the case of, we'll say the highway department, and I'm not picking on the highway department, but the highway department, if they send us a request for disbursement and it's airplane tickets to Hawaii because all the guys worked a whole lot of overtime and Craig wanted to take them to, Honolulu for vacation, that doesn't meet the definition of the capital reserve funds, in which case we'd say, no, we're not going to disperse.
Yeah.
The beneficial trust fund is different. So, one thing that you may find helpful from the Scribners or not, and you'll find as you're operating the building on your own, there are certain baseline expenses that are involved in the regular upkeep of the library. And it's like Amanda said, it's totally okay if you know that, on average, you're spending $2,000 a quarter. I'll just throw that out there, $2,000 a quarter on those, regular upkeep and maintenance expenses for building and grounds. At the beginning of the quarter, or when we meet ahead of it, saying we're requesting that for our buildings and grounds maintenance upkeep. And, it's, as long as there's a paper trail with a formal request that it says, we're asking for $2,000 for the next quarter for building and grounds upkeep, that goes with our records. If at the next meeting you want to say, we actually spent 1,900 of it, so we're only going to ask for 1,900 the next time, that's really up to, there's someone trying to join the meeting. he decided now is a good time to get in my lap. That's really up to you. We're not going to scrutinize expenses line by line and say, well, that wasn't a building and grounds expense, or you only spent $1,784.37. So that's all we're going to disperse. We're not going to try to do that to you.
I would
Yeah.
say if the lawn looks really bad and all of a sudden I hear that there was a big trip to Hawaii, that we might we might want to get a little, put our glasses
Yeah.
on and look at things that are happening. But
Right.
yeah, Walter's right. You will need to budget out, especially as you move forward with your own CRF for the library and plans that you have. I'm just saying, don't be afraid to ask for large sums of money, much larger than you're used to having, because you're going to have, your ledger book now looks very different.
Hmm.
We're not your accountants. We're not your accountants, and we're not your treasurers, and we're not going to be minding your checkbooks. We are the floodgates that release the money to you. But you do need to give us sufficient notice.
Well, you do need records of what we spent it on, right? After the fact.
We need the petition that you give us for it. Yeah, I think so. What about it, Walter?
Yeah, I think that's fine. I mean, if, again, I'll use the $2,000 as an estimate. You might ask for that at the beginning of the quarter, and whether you put it into your checking account or you go and open a separate savings or money market account to put that in, and you draw from it as you have your bills. And at the end of the quarter, you produce, bills that say, okay, we spent $1,784. Okay, so you should have the balance in there with $216 to start off the next quarter, and then add the next, 200, the next $2,000 payment. And we're not going to ask for whatever's left over at the end of the year back to put in the trust.
Right.
There may be a one-time expense that you go over in that particular quarter. But yeah, having the receipts to back up after the fact and invoices is certainly helpful to be able, if we get audited, to show, yes, the library did in fact use everything they asked for on building and grounds upkeep.
Right. And I'm thinking, for example, of the Blake Fund. That might be a good comparison, Walter, because with the Firefighters Association, they have certain parameters that they can and cannot use the Blake Fund for. And so when they ask for funds, for scholarship and training and stuff, they show us, this is the scholarship recipient, that we have proposed, and this is the person to whom the check should be made out. And then they also say things, show that this is our training that we're doing, and stuff. Now, I don't go along and watch them that Saturday and be sure that they were all there at the training. But they do provide, as Walter said, it's paperwork on our end, to prove that we were solicited for these funds, and that's what they said they were going to use them for.
That just helps in the event of an audit. That's all that's for. We're not going to sit there and scrutinize and say, well, you should have gone to Home Depot instead of Rand's for those nuts and bolts. I mean, it really doesn't matter to me.
Right.
Okay.
Walter, could you go back and explain that first option you mentioned about the settlement fund in Vanguard? Could you explain that again?
Sure. So every brokerage account that you open as an individual, as a trust, as a corporation, every brokerage account allows you to invest in a multitude of securities, be it mutual funds, stocks, bonds, currencies, CDs, et cetera, et cetera. When you deposit money into your brokerage account, either by transferring assets from another account or sending cash out of your checking or savings account, it's deposited into the settlement fund. Fidelity calls it your core position. Some of the other investment houses has different names for it, but it's just a short-term parking place to put cash, and then you make your purchases securities out of there. Generally, it's a place, if you're going to have an expense coming up and you sell something, you have the money there ready to write a check or have a check mailed to you from the investment firm. And it earns a nominal amount of interest, just like a savings account would.
It's going to be like a money market fund idea from your perspective. We can Walter can literally write a check from it, from his house and hand it to you, walk down the street and hand it to you.
And is this an account that you wouldn't add more money to it at any time, or you would?
I think that would depend upon what the library's plans are. If they can, if you communicated to us and said, look, we are getting ready to do this X, Y, and Z, and we have, these are, we're going to need these kinds of funds in this order. And of course, just to talk about the elephant in the room, when you start a building project, for example, when you start a building project, you can get bills for $35,000, because it's not an inexpensive project. And so we would need, notice, Walter would need notice of stuff like that, because we would need to have these funds ready. And depending upon what your plans are, and again, I think I've said plan about every other sentence, depending upon what your plans are, and that's really the key thing, is we don't catch us, don't blindside us. Not that we can't get the money to you, it's just going to inconvenience us and make us kind of mad.
Yeah.
Just try to work with us and keep us happy. So if you had this big project and you could say, look, we're going to embark upon this project and we plan to use our CRF of about 100,000, we're going to need an additional 100,000. And this is probably, Walter and I have both done enough building on our own and home renovation and stuff like that. We can look at stuff and Walter can start saying, okay, and he can start liquidating. Both, timing the market is not quite, has such a pejorative term to it, but in a way you do kind of want to time the market. There's better times to sell than others. And if we had this kind of planning and foreknowledge of what was going on, we can make it work very well for you. And so Walter would perhaps decide, I'm going to put 50,000 in this money market thing right now, the settlement account, because I know that in about 6 weeks, I'm going to have to send him a check for $45,000. That's so it's going to be kind of used as, you can almost think of it as some kind of overflow basin that, he will fill. And again, I still want to emphasize that the money that is invested in stocks and bonds is not untouchable. It could just take about 3 days to get it to you.
Right.
We do understand that boilers blow up, things happen, but plans are also made. So that's just kind of what we're talking about.
So yeah, in the case of, say, a building project where you plan on spending $100,000 out of the fund, that we had it there and we could do that. If you came to me at the beginning of the project and said, I'm going to spend $100,000, I'd say, great. How long is the project going to last, and how much do you think you're going to ask for every month, for instance? A project would be special. And then what I do is I'd generally be pulling out about 2 to 3, 4 weeks in advance. And I have to do the same thing at work at the college. When I'm starting a big project, most of that money is invested, and they used to take it all out at the beginning of the job and try to maximize returns. We'll take it out usually a month in advance. So I give them a month-to-month accounting of how much I think I'm going to be invoiced for. And it's not an exact science. I might say, well, I think this month I'm going to be invoiced for 125 and it's only 98. And they say, well, you know what? There's $27,000 here extra. What were you doing? It's,
Yeah. I think you all understand what we're talking about. It's just a new grounds, pardon the pun, and for everybody. But we're trying to meet, and that we had this same discussion with the town. That we're going to meet four times a year. This discussion with Charlie. And we're going to meet 4 times a year, Charlie.
Yeah. But to go back to the exploding boiler that Amanda's mentioned a couple of times, that's the perfect case of an emergency. The boiler blows up on a Saturday, and Squam Lakes comes out, for instance, Squam Lakes comes out and says it's going to be $10,000, and I can have it done the end of the week. We can
it's the middle.
We can address that.
And
that's the one. The one thing we're going to be talking about 10 years later is that time the boiler blew up because a mouse got stuck in it or something.
Right.
Whatever the case may be.
Yeah. And those things happen, and you have the money to fix it, and we can make that work. But at the same time, if you put in a new phone system and want us to pay this $500 bill, it might be a little hard to live with for a while. And we're just kind of giving you that lecture because we did the same thing in the town, because we are in a position that we can be nickeled and dimed, so to speak, and just, come on, give us a break. So, because you're not the only ones wanting funds.
Right. Yeah, I understand.
Yeah.
And
so we need to figure out how we're going to handle the money that's in that current checking account. That's one issue. Where we put it, how we how we handle it.
Well,
Who's the
Walter
we?
suggested that we're gonna put that money back into the trust as it is.
Right,
Okay.
yeah,
But
Yeah.
we'll keep it
Yeah.
liquid. We will keep it
Mhm.
liquid in that settlement account, which is like a money market fund.
I mean, it's technically all part of the trust,
Right.
but
Oh, of course
right
it is.
now it's in two different places. And we're
Right.
going to be renaming the trust at Vanguard, the trust fund, to be compliant with Article 19. So
Mhm.
technically that $5,000 would no longer be compliant.
Mhm.
Yeah. So as far as what to do with the $5,000, I mean, that's not a separate amount of money you have to worry
No,
about. What you're gonna
no.
do with 97,000, that is what's the Scrivener
Mhm.
right now.
Right,
So that's
right.
the question. So I wouldn't even worry about it. We're just going to close the account that's at Meredith and stick it into the Vanguard, you know.
Okay.
And
okay,
so you guys are never touching it, and there's no transfer of names from one account to another. It just simply will no longer exist at Meredith Village.
right.
Okay.
That seems reasonable and
Yeah.
legal.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
Legal's important.
Yes. Now, and you're taking care of that change in the name of the account
Yes.
and all of that process.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, we're going to
Okay.
talk about it later in our meeting, but I've
Mhm.
got I need to do a couple housekeeping things with Vanguard. One is to change the name from the
Mhm.
Emma Scrivener, what was it, the Emma Scrivener Trust to the
Yeah.
Scrivener Park.
Scribner Building and Park,
Right, yes.
something. Yeah, I think, yeah.
And it'll be changed because it's no longer under will, it's under agreement. And then we also need to add Lisa as a
Signatory.
co-trustee,
Mhm.
that's what it is. So
Mhm.
that way we all have signatory authority. And then once that's all done, I'll have check writing privileges added to the account so I can write checks right out of that fund
Okay,
on the
okay.
settlement. Because what I can do is, I mean, with any brokerage account, you can request a check and there's no charge for that, but
Mhm.
you know, why wait for 5
Again.
days to have a check mailed if in that, you know, again, the instance of the boiler and you need the money tonight, we can write a check.
So you
Yeah,
will actually have a physical checkbook for the account, Walter?
Yes.
Oh,
Okay.
We do
okay.
that with the CRFs. We have physical,
Hmm.
well, most of them have physical checkbooks. Sometimes Amanda just goes to the bank and asks the teller for a check printed with that account number on it, because we might write one check in a year out of it.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah.
we really-
No point
Okay.
having a full
Yeah.
checkbook.
Yeah.
But the checkbook
Okay.
just helps with the paper trail, because when you if you request a check, you'll get a stub. If we write a check, then we'll have the register and the canceled check as proof.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. Mhm. Okay.
Any other questions? Any other concerns?
David, you're the primary person. You're the you're
Yeah.
the treasurer.
Well, we haven't really done this before, so for us to predict when and where we're going to need money is a little hard at this point.
Yeah.
Because we never handle these expenses. So
Well, going forward,
Oh,
from my perspective as a Scrivener, I can tell you, you know, you're going to have to pay your heating oil. I suggest that you pre-buy. You might be able to get a better
well,
deal.
actually, the heating oil is in our regular budget.
Okay.
Yes.
The
it
fire
looks-
alarm services, we're
Yeah.
we're going to pay for them out of the regular town appropriation, not
Okay.
using the Scribner fund.
Yeah.
Amanda, would, I don't know that there's an issue with this, but would it be okay to just open the ledgers that the Scribners kept to the library and just show them what they paid for and when, to maybe give them an idea?
I've already done that.
You've done
and
that, okay. Wasn't great.
Oh.
There weren't any ledgers to open, but I was able to
Okay,
put together stuff that I had seen in the checkbook.
all right.
But going, additionally, the lawn has been, I got the town to be taking care of that last year, and
Right.
I suggest that you continue to ask Craig to do it. You know, there is now a change in the guard. So Amanda Loud's not the one who'll be talking to them, you know, but I was very, you know, adamant and pushy, you know, that the town owns that area and needs to take care of it, and that will alleviate some
Right.
budget. So
Sarah has had some very good communication with Craig.
good. He has been
Yeah.
very, very supportive of the library, and I have
Yes.
only the very best to say about him and his crew. So
Absolutely. He's
But
been
as
very good.
David said, there are certain expenses that we built into our new budget this year to handle some of those regular things. As he said, the fuel oil,
Right.
the expenses for the fire alarm system.
Yeah.
So those are going to become part of our regular operating budget that we put together every year.
Okay.
And it sounds like the Scribner will be there for what it should be, which is the wish list. You know, we're just asking that, you know, you
Mhm.
start your wishing with a little bit of long range planning.
Oh, we're doing a lot of considering of options.
Yeah,
It will
I'm
be, yeah.
excited for you. I think it's a marvelous time. It's gonna be-
You also know that the restriction to spend income only generated from the principal investment has been removed.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes,
Not that it was
Correct.
being followed always
Right,
before,
right.
but that's no
Yeah.
longer something that we would be
Yeah.
violating if
Right.
we were to disperse funds.
Mhm.
Yeah, so you have whatever, you know, you see
Yeah.
in that.
Whatever
Now,
the total is.
Right, now, as far as what the total is, you know, would you like to be
It's going to,
notified on a quarterly basis or, you know,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
that would be, yes, that
Okay.
would be great.
I-
And we can even, we get monthly statements too, and it'll be easy to see once the funds from the checking account, those assets are transferred in.
Mhm.
You can see exactly how everything's invested, and it's easy to forward the investment report on a monthly or a quarterly basis, however.
Hmm.
yeah.
That
I
would be good.
I
Yeah.
said quarterly because we report to the Board of Selectmen quarterly, Walter.
Okay, all
That
right,
would
that's
Yeah,
fine.
yeah.
Yep,
Because
Mhm.
the Scribner would be in that report.
yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Mhm.
At this
Okay.
point, the only big expense we have committed ourselves to is a survey of the property, which is in the $3,000 to $4,000 range, but we don't expect that to be done for 3 to 4 months. because,
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
um,
Mhm.
Well, then it
That's,
sounds to me like that might be a request that you would make it for our June meeting.
It could, yes, it could very well be.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At least, I would imagine we will, even if it hasn't been done by then, we will probably have a fairly close estimate of what it will cost.
And like
Yeah.
Walter said, if you request 4,000 and the thing was 3,500,
Mhm.
okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Mhm. Yeah. Mhm.
Well, is that really a problem? At the end of the year, what happens? I mean, you've given us money, we haven't spent it. Would the auditors wonder what is that doing there? Why did they have it? And
Well, David, I can see, obviously, we will have to keep separate records of what we spend from which pot of
oh,
money.
yeah, right, yeah.
Yeah. And if there's still money that we have requested that we haven't spent yet, obviously that will still be earmarked for what is appropriate from that account, from that pot. Yeah.
You know, one thing you could do to keep, you know, this is pretty concrete, is you could open up, you have your checking account, you know, that the
A
Scribner-
regular checking.
the
Yeah.
regular that the trustees have. Why don't you open up at Meredith Village a second account, you know, and have it be like a money market account, so that you can throw, you know, 4,000 or 10,000 or something into it. You sleep a little bit better at night. It's not in a regular checking. It is earning interest, albeit not that much.
Yeah.
But then you can have very clear, you know, this cut where did the money come from that's in this account? Well, that money always comes from the Scribner Trust. It doesn't come from people making gifts to the library. It doesn't come from, you know, overdue book charges. That's the only place it comes from, is from the Scribner Trust. And then when we have a checkbook with it that allows us to write 2 or 3 checks a month or something like that, so you know that you're not, you know, paying for, you know,
Right.
magazine subscriptions with it. And then you know, and that's a pretty concrete, clear paper trail to follow, you know, very clear. And in fact, if you had something like that, we could even get things really slick and just wire the funds right into it.
Right.
We wouldn't even be writing a check. We would, oh, Walter's smiling. We could just wire funds.
Like that too.
And I like that. Kathleen's got her plans. But I think I think that would probably be a really good way to handle it. Because then you're not worried about your accounting books and what they say and where that money came from or whatever. And it's just,
It
It
would
has
make
one-
things easier. We all have all
Yes.
kinds of accounts now at Meredith
Yeah.
Village Savings,
Yeah.
so different things. And
yeah. And it just,
Yeah.
out. Where'd the money
Yeah.
come from? It was in that account.
Mhm.
What comes from Scribner? Where'd it go? Well,
Mhm.
receipts.
Yeah, just as a I don't want to say customer of the trustees, but as someone who, as an entity, you're a little different than the town as a whole in that your
Mhm.
expenses are going to be requested ahead of time, just
Mhm.
because of your own cash flow.
Yeah.
And that's something we can certainly help. And like Amanda suggested, you know, a dedicated account that the library
Mhm.
trustees have, I think will help with all the accounting. And as long as we keep records, and even when there's a wire transfer in some point in the future, if we get that
Mhm.
sophisticated or that simple, I guess, there's still a paper record of that. It shows up on
Yeah.
up on two sets of statements. One at Vanguard as a transfer out,
Mhm.
one at Meredith Village as a transfer in.
Transfer in. Yeah.
And you know, we have the
Mhm.
paper of the request being made and invoices after the fact. I mean, it's
Mhm.
you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's all trackable and
Mhm.
traceable.
Mhm. Yeah.
I mean, ideally at, you know, January 1st, it'd be $4 in the money market account. Like there's normally $4 in the library's operating account. So,
Usually more
but
than that.
we
but-
understand it's not a perfect world.
Okay. That.
One other thing that I do have for the library trustees that's completely and totally unrelated to the Scribner Fund
Mhm.
is a housekeeping matter, and that is the master keys for the library, as well as the
Okay.
copies that Amanda and I and Lisa, I think, had one, and maybe Dave Toth. I'd have to check the spreadsheet.
Mhm.
But we have keys to the library that technically we no longer should have.
Well, actually, Walter, I want to interrupt. The only people I know, I still have my key. I
Yep.
think Dave Toth might have turned us in. This is a question that Sarah could answer because I gave Sarah the spreadsheet and all the keys.
Okay.
I mean, all the keys
Well,
we made, keys
right.
I found.
Mhm.
Right.
So I
Okay.
think there's still some of us. I know I have mine, and I'm
Mhm.
going to throw mine in the book drop.
Yep. I
Um,
also have my copy, and I have the masters from the set when I bought the lot.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
Because what we
Mhm.
opted to do was make copies, and then the library retained the masters. The
Mhm.
spreadsheet might have been given in a PDF form. I have it in an Excel spreadsheet if you'd like that too.
Okay.
It's easy to email over, but
Mhm.
I don't want to have keys I shouldn't have.
Understand.
Yeah. No, I'll get mine. Throw mine in. Next time I'm checking the mail at the Ashland post
Mhm.
office. I live like 3 feet from Plymouth, so I'll be
Yeah, yeah.
going to Ashland is such a schlep for me. But it really
That's all
is.
right with the library trustees.
I'm sorry.
I said, I will keep my key if that is all right with the library trustees.
Probably.
I would assume.
Probably. No,
Oh,
wow.
I didn't think about that. Yeah, Lisa would actually need that on a regular basis.
But we'll get our keys, and I'll email Dave Toth and make sure that he turns his.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was our thing. In the beginning.
Is the book drop acceptable to the trustees? 'Cause I can put them in a baggie and drop them off.
Sarah.
And everything's gonna work.
Sarah, is that okay?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Okay.
Oh, well, do you have any other questions?
Do you have anything left upstairs in the library that you still need to work with?
I boxed up quite a bit of records, and I know that Lisa, y'all put them in the back of that closet upstairs.
Okay. Okay.
And if that could
That's
stay
fine.
there for now, I'm still hesitant to get rid of any of that stuff for a while. Now,
Was that Scribner stuff?
some of it was, some of
Okay.
it is trustee stuff, it's about 50-50.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
and we still have some stuff that we're trying to settle still a year out.
Mhm.
It's not
Yeah.
good. So I don't want to get rid of the records yet.
Yeah.
There'll
Yeah.
come a time, but you know what, that time may not be for 2 or 3 more years.
Mhm.
But there will come a time when I will be, I'll ask Craig Moore very nicely to bring his truck and we will haul it to the dump. But it's not that time. It is
Yeah.
not that
Yeah.
time.
Mhm. Yeah. What's happening with those other little funds?
Okay.
The
The Ordway Cheney.
yes,
Cheney,
and that yeah.
Addison,
I know you've got issues with them. And that's just,
we have a few issues and they're
Yeah.
on our agenda, so I can go ahead and go to that right now on our agenda. It says on the agenda, it says status of funds at Capital Group. So there are 3 funds. We have 10 trusts in the town of Ashland, which includes Scribner, 10.
Mhm.
And that includes Blake and Memorial and
Yeah.
also these 3, they were 4 different investment houses. Okay. So as I was telling Walter earlier today, I bought a phone that has a speaker function on it because I would be on hold for over 40 minutes at a time during these multiple calls I have made over the past year, just trying to get Walter and my name on these trusts so we can access them, move them,
Mhm.
something. And
Yeah.
anyway, so we're down to the last ones are
Okay.
Capital. We've got them all the others. So we're down to the last 3. And what I found at Capital Group, that's Green Grove Cemetery. No, that's at UBS. Cremingsbury, Addison, and Ordway Cheney, I think are the 3.
Okay.
I'll probably get that wrong, but I think that's it.
That sounds
Anyway,
right.
here's the deal. Cremingsbury is okay. It's under the town. It's got the town's tax ID number on it. And that's good. And it's just a matter of proving blood type and everything else that Capital
Yeah.
Group wants. And it's just ridiculous. It's all
Mhm.
going to the town
That's
attorney.
a cemetery fund, isn't it?
It is. And we're
From- yeah,
trying to give that to the trustees of the Green Grove Cemetery along with the Green Grove Fund.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's going to legal's problem. It's a
Mhm.
mess. Then there's also legal's problem, greater mess I found with the Addison and the Ordway Cheney. Those 2 funds do not have the town's tax ID on them.
Okay. That we knew. We found out from you.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's not for me. Now, I don't know what's on them because
And they won't tell us.
they won't
They
tell
won't.
us because I can't tell them, can you give us the ID on the fund? Well,
No.
I can't. I thought it was this.
Mm-mm.
That's not it. Oh,
No.
so anyway, that's gone to the Board of Selectmen voted last month to allow me to talk directly to legal because
Okay.
why go through them as a middle person? That's not the point.
Yeah.
And that's going to be, honestly, I've talked to quite a bit with Tom Donovan at the Attorney General's office, and his the technical legal term he uses is "ugh, what a mess."
Mhm.
And this could take, I'm not a lawyer, but from what I'm hearing the lawyer tell me, this could be a year plus until we get.
Okay.
I mean, it really
Yeah.
could be that long. Now, these 2 funds, the Addison and the Ordway Cheney, are for the benefit of the library, and Ordway Cheney is specifically for buying books,
Mhm.
and Addison you can do anything with, but it's all for the benefit of the library. This is
Right.
to be very clear, this is not the Addison Scholarship Fund.
No, it's separate.
And I'm just making
Yeah.
that clear. This is a recorded meeting for public
Yes.
knowledge.
Yes. Totally
Not
separate.
exactly. So anyway, that's what's happening with that. And
Excuse me.
I will be contacting the attorney.
Mhm.
I would like, and this is a question for my trustees now, since we're addressing this now in our meeting at this point in our agenda. I did send a letter to, I contacted the names of the trustees that I saw on Capital Group. If I look at the statement, anybody look at the statement, see these names. These are the names on the statement.
Yeah.
Rick Perret, Tom Peters, and Dick Ogden. And I sent them an email, over a month ago, probably been almost 2 months now,
Mhm.
after I've talked great length with Tom Donovan. And I asked them, do you know anything about this fund and about this discrepancy? I said, any information I would appreciate.
Mhm.
And none of them replied.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
in fairness, I used the email addresses that I had from when I was a Scrivener with them. What I would like to do, now that it's been referred to legal is not free. And I would like to send a second email to them, asking them again
Mhm.
if they have any more information on these funds at all that they can just tell me anything. any information they can share would be appreciated, because I can give that to the attorney, and it does give the attorney some kind of starting point
Right.
on what might have happened. And I do want to make it extremely clear, and I made it clear in my first email to them, and I would make it clear in this second and final email to them. I do not believe that there was any evil intentions done. I don't think anything was done nefariously. I do not think that anyone was committing any kind of,
No.
evil against the library or doing anything wrong, illegal, knowingly, none of that. I think that this was transferred, and this is the best I can piece together. Again, not being able to give them the ID that's on the account and not them really talking to me, but what I can piece together historically is that this was transferred to Capital Group from UBS probably sometime around the year 2006, 2000, somewhere in that area, to the best of my knowledge. And that when it was transferred, honestly, I just think the paperwork was not filled out correctly. And something, so it's under some number that's not the town's tax ID. And if I could get any information again from those, and I'm not picking on them.
No.
Names
Just
I
trying.
have on the printout, that I get from Capital Group every quarter.
Yeah.
And I would also, put in the letter this time, I would say that if they wanted to, they could respond anonymously by mailing something to the PO Box 425, which is the trustees mailbox. I don't know how Walter and Lisa feel about this. I'm just trying to give the lawyer anything I can to try to save the town some time and money.
Well, and that's what I would be concerned about too, is the amount of money it would be costing with the legal aspect of it.
Yeah.
That is not cheap. And if someone has any information, if they just share the information that they have. I would like to know, just for the record, I know it is in different reports and town reports and things, but how much are in those funds right now?
Oh, I got the amount, not a lot. I think like 4,000 and 2,000. You hang on just a second. I can roll over and find out. This is 19. Walter's got 20.
I'm actually going to pull up the last investment report I sent to the.
So here's 19, Ordway Cheney, and this is old now. This is September 30th, 2019. So this is like a year and a half ago, but it's not going to be off by much.
No,
It has $4,018 in it. So maybe 4,200 or 4,300 now. Maybe not. I don't think they're invested very well, in my opinion. Okay, I got that done. And now Addison has, back then it had about $3,300.
Yeah.
okay.
So at the
A lot of money, but they're money that's just kind of in limbo and stuck. And now we're paying somebody to try to unravel all of this.
right.
Yeah.
It's gonna have to be unraveled either way. Even if it had 25,000 in it, would be a lot more excited about getting it unraveled. But either way, it has to be settled. These are funds that are for the benefit of the library. Something happened, and I'm guessing that it happened when it got transferred from UBS.
Well, and those funds, it might be the benefit of the library, but it's also the benefit of the entire community.
Exactly.
As a whole, as taxpayers and everything.
Yeah.
So
David?
December 31st of 2020 was the last quarterly report we received. We'll be getting one the end of this month.
Yeah.
Ordway Cheney had $5,038.87.
That's quite a bit more.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And Harriet Addison Library Fund had $4,551.88.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So
Oh,
you've got about $10,000 out there that we're trying to
Yeah.
get down. And
David, in your memory, have we ever received any funds or used any funds from those?
I don't believe we ever requested. I don't know if
well,
Sarah can
actually,
remember
I
that.
can answer that question because I asked Sarah this, and Sarah is the one that can answer it best. But I have recorded that in 2006, that was the last time you received any funds from it. And herein goes my absolute, my own theory with nothing to prove it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's what led me to believe that it got transferred. You did
Hmm.
receive some funds from it in 2006 after request.
Okay.
And
Yes.
then subsequent requests were denied, or you were told that there was no interest or dividends to distribute, which is ridiculous because there's always interest and dividends on something that's invested. But anyway,
Yeah.
so this is my guess. This is Amanda Loud's complete guess, is that about that time, 07, 08, it was transferred from UBS. And when it was transferred, something went wrong with the paperwork. And I don't think the trustees could access it anymore.
Mm.
That's my guess. That's my guess. And
Yeah,
that's why they were refusing to give you the money.
They couldn't get at it.
They couldn't
Yeah.
get at it. That's my
Mhm.
guess. Because I
don't know
can't
if we-
imagine that they could and they would refuse.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay.
I don't recall
That's
any requests in recent years from us to use that money, so.
Yeah. Mm.
But anyway, that's
Okay, so we'll just,
the thing that they
yeah, so we'll just let you work that through, and
don't hold your breath. I will
whatever happens,
let you
happens.
know.
No.
You'll get it eventually. It has to be settled. There's no way around it.
Oh, yeah,
legally,
at
we
some
have to
point.
be settled.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
just because you haven't heard anything about it, a year from
Mhm.
now, maybe I'll have some news for you. How's that?
Okay.
But I will tell you as soon, because believe me, I'm going to be really excited when we get it settled. Okay, so then going forward then with our agenda, I'll go back to my welcome to Lisa Rollins. One thing that we need to do as we start our new year of trustees is have officers. And Lisa, would you like to be secretary? Silence.
You must be on mute.
Oh, I don't want to be.
You do
But
such a
there's three of us, and I guess that would be my position.
You take such excellent meeting minutes.
Oh gosh, Lisa, you do the best job. I mean, you really do. And what we need to have in the minutes, because the next thing says signatory cards, Jill White, is we need to be sure that the minutes state that the trustees welcomed Lisa Rollins as the new trustee or something like that. It just has to be that. We just have to have minutes that
Okay.
reflect that you are a trustee, so that members present and a trustee and stuff. Does anybody object to me continuing as chair?
Nope.
Boy, that came quick. There's only three of us, unless Lisa wants to
I'll
be
make a
chair.
motion to continue to have you to be chair.
Okay, I didn't think anybody was gonna want that. Don't think, I'm not trying to hog it, please. But there's three of us. So going back to the signatory cards with Jill White. Well, I guess we have to have a motion. Lisa made a motion. We'll make it all. So I have a motion then that Amanda Loud is chair and Lisa Rollins is secretary. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, so all in favor, Lisa Rollins,
Sure.
Walter Durack,
Aye.
and Amanda Loud is also an aye. Okay, we wanted to get that in the minutes, right? Thank you very much. So Jill needs to have, like I said, the minutes, and then she needs in writing from me who should be on all the accounts to sign. So I'll have to, there's 17 or 18 accounts, and maybe 20, something like that. And each account is just a separate CRF is what it is. So I will get that to Jill in writing along with a copy of the minutes when I have a copy of the minutes. And then we get all these sheets, one piece of paper for every account, and then you just sign your name something like 18 times. We did it at my house, last year. I just had the paper here, and Walter came by and signed them all. But we'll find a place that's convenient, and we'll get you, because I'm anxious, Lisa, to get you signing on being able to sign those CRF checks. Because right now, Walter and I are the only two who can do it. And the checks take 2 signatures to be valid. So that's going to be something within the next like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, you're going to be on. Just as soon as, and what Jill makes it happen really fast once I get everything to her.
So work on your finger stretches.
Yeah.
My name 60 times.
To my knowledge, we didn't have any new warrants, CRFs established. No.
We did have no new CRFs established by warrant. The money that was voted to be deposited into the CRFs will be given to the trustees in December, and that's
Yeah,
state law.
Yeah, that's what happened. That's what happened last December. A few months ago, I went and deposited all the, were you there, Walter, when I
Yeah,
deposited all that
yep.
stuff? Yeah, you and I were there and we deposited a bunch. And then I even had, then I got called back and had more to deposit, 2 or 3
The
others.
school, I think, cut their checks in January.
Right, and I got him in the mail, and I said,
Right.
okay, so I just went and put him in, you know. So,
Yeah, no, well, yeah, I think they were credited in January. They made it to you in December, but
yeah,
it's going to be, it won't be reflected. It was not reflected in the 2020 MS9. It'll be reflected in the 2021 MS9, and there'll probably be 2 deposits that year for the
Okay.
school funds. So yeah, we had a big party in Jill's office one Friday morning, Lisa. And
yeah, we're
I
gonna
think
have
we
to do it at the party next year. So
brought
you
like
see what
10,
happens.
I think we had 10 checks. Charlie had to come down and sign some paperwork while he was town manager still. And
Yeah, that had to do with something else though. That was, I think.
yeah, I think that was a one-off. That wasn't required on a regular basis.
Yeah.
So we took care of all that at the same time.
So speaking of taking care, Walter, we have, Catherine gave me the paperwork. We have about maybe 5 or 6 checks to sign. 4 or 5. Oh no, I take it back. Maybe 4 or 5 because there's some that are multiple from the same, but we're just going to write 1 check.
Right. Oh yeah, like the property tax CRF. I know that you get periodic invoices from that. Yeah.
So when can we get down there and do that? What works for you?
So the select board has it on their agenda tomorrow to review those requests. I don't know if you noticed that. And
No.
they're probably just going to confirm that everything that Catherine had asked for is everything that they needed. I'm reading between the lines of the agenda and assuming that they're not going to ask for a whole bunch more.
Okay.
I think they're just confirming that all their ducks in a row, because we've had we've had changes with the select board's makeup. We've had changes with town manager, and things were kind of left in limbo there for a bit. So I think that's probably Catherine. I'm guessing Catherine's probably just going to confirm the town manager and select board that they've got everything correct.
Okay.
So we probably want to give them 24 hours to make sure that everything's
I have to post it anyway because the 2 of us being together constitutes a meeting, so that has to be posted.
Do we want to? So we're going to need to add Lisa pretty quickly because the 2 checks need to have, each check needs to have 2 signatures. Technically, you and I can be the 2 signatures.
Right.
But we usually had you write the checks and David and I would confirm the amounts were all correct. So it's ideal to have 3 people.
Yeah, it's ideal. So Lisa, can you come and be with us when we sign them? Even though you're not a signatory, you can be confirming that the amounts are correct,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the time, looking at my calendar, that would work best for me, I could be there this week on Thursday morning on the early side. By early, I mean like 8 or 9.
Yeah. Fortunately, Thursday's no good for me. I'm in Concord all day. I leave at 7.
Okay, well then looking into next week, I can be there. I could be there Monday at like either very early. No, that wouldn't work. I could be there about 10:30.
Monday doesn't work for me. I'm in Laconia all day on Monday.
Lisa,
Well,
you probably have I was going to say, seems like your schedule might be the one we need to work with the most, just because of what your work.
Actually,
All right.
I'm flexible. I'm at the library on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 1 to 5. So I kind of, right now at this point in time, I'm kind of open those mornings. Mondays are kind of out for me. Wednesday afternoon is kind of iffy.
bad.
But anything, throw something out and
I'm going to throw out a suggestion, and I don't know how well this is going to be received, but there is the Scribner room at the library.
Yes.
And could that be used to meet at 5 o'clock to sign checks? So it's after Lisa's done?
Ah,
If Tuesday evening works for you, Amanda, I don't know what your schedule is.
Oh,
Tuesday,
That's a great idea, if it works for
I
people.
can do Tuesday at 5. I can do Tuesday the 30th.
Tuesday?
I could do Tuesday the 30th at 5.
And I should be able to do that. I'm going to be in Concord that day too, but I believe I'll be leaving Concord by 4 o'clock.
Okay. And I will have everything over at the library because I keep everything at town hall.
And
But
that's
I'll-
why we were going to town hall, but it was just a thought. It seems like a central spot. Lisa's already there. Town hall closes at 5
Yeah.
and neither of us have keys and I
And is
don't.
that fixed? Yeah, there's that, and I'm there, and so, yeah.
If the library trustees are okay with that.
I'm writing myself checks. The library will be closed at that time, I think, right?
We close at 5 right now.
Perfect. Okay. I can go by the town hall before it closes and grab the box of goodies and meet you over there.
Excellent.
This is another reason, library trustees, why sometimes we need advanced warning. It's just, oh my gosh. Okay, so I have us down then as March 30th, that
Yep.
we'll be signing, and I will post that
Okay.
at the meeting, at the Scribner building, Scribner Library, I guess we'll call it. What do we call it? Do we call it the Ashland Library? What do we call it?
Ashland Town Library?
Okay, just making sure we know this new horizon. Okay,
I don't know. I guess that's what it's called.
yeah, I'll put a note on if it happens, it's on my calendar, it happens. So post meeting, okay, post meeting 3:30. Okay, good. We're good to go. Old business. Okay, I did the legal, the help from legal to Stassa Funds and Capital Group. Old business transfers Wells Fargo, UBS, Amundi Pioneer. So Walter, we need to get the Memorial and the Blake out of Wells Fargo.
I did all of the, I set up the account paperwork with me as co-trustee and you as co-trustee. And this was when we knew David was coming off the board, but before Lisa was voted on. They told me, and this was about a month ago now, they told me that they were going to send everything to you so you could co-sign. They worked it through DocuSign, which, yeah, so I'm going to need to call them. I'm going to call them. Unfortunately, when you're dealing with trust accounts, nothing's easy like it is your 401k. You can't just press a button and move $100,000. All right, so I will call them and find out where those two are, because I did the two paperwork, the paperwork for the two accounts at the same time. On separate applications. And yeah, I'll get that resolved with them and hopefully I don't have to fill them out again. And we'll get you to co-sign and then we will get Lisa put on, or I could actually have Lisa added as a third signer now. Okay.
And then now UBS, the accounts that are UBS, I think that's Green Grove. Maybe there's something else there. That needs to get that could be transferred out too, even though we're trying to get Green Grove and somebody else's. I can't keep track of all this stuff. It's just such a nutty thing. Anyway, our names are on it, Walter. You and I are recognized as the trustees on it, on
Excellent.
everything at UBS. So that can be moved easily. And then Amundi Pioneer, we are also recognized. I called the other day to see and say, am I a trustee on this? And they put me on hold and then I was able to recite what they needed recited. And they said, yes, you are. And so,
Okay.
so we're on it.
UBS is Green Grove, Doggett Scholarship, and Addison Scholarship.
Yeah. And our names are on those.
Okay. And Amundi Pioneer is the Harriet Addison Library Fund, if I've got that correctly.
Now, wait. That's, then what's the, what are the ones that are at,
Capital I have is Crimmingsbury, Pauline Packard, Memorial Fund and
Oh.
Ordway Cheney.
Pauline Packard, Mardine, I'm sorry, Pauline Packard Memorial Fund, not the Addison. The Addison Library Fund, that's not the scholarships at UBA, is at Amundi Pioneer. Yeah.
So these funds still need to be transferred to Vanguard.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, we still have a lot of work ahead of us.
It
Okay.
took, Lisa, it took a year for me to get just Walter and my names on these things so that we could,
I can imagine it's been quite the process.
it was just, oh my gosh. This is one step at a time. It was, oh my gosh, it was unbelievable. Anyway. Oh. So anyway, we got our name. Walter and I can sign off on these and get them transferred over. And then it's going to be so much nicer when we have it at Vanguard. From the one hand, the savings in fees alone to all of these funds will be just very pronounced. And then also having it all at Vanguard, we can see it all. It's all there. It's easy to track down where it is, what it is. And honestly, as I always say, while these funds have more than we have in our checking accounts, I was, I don't know if embarrassed is the right term, but certainly feeling very small in the room at all of the trustees of the trust funds training things I have attended in the past year, when other towns, and I am not talking about the town of Manchester or Bedford or, Wolfboro or towns with very high property values and a lot of money. I'm talking about just very small towns in New Hampshire start talking about the size of their scholarship funds that are, in the millions of dollars, and they are cutting 5, 6 scholarship checks that are for significant amounts of money every year. And the Doggett scholarship now has been so depleted. Is it 19? How much? It's under $4,000. It's under $1,900. It's not much. And
I can tell you. Let's see, Doggett.
it's
Doggett currently has $1,934 in it.
$1,934 in it, under $2,000. And we are not going to cut. I've directed Plymouth Regional High School that we will not be giving a Doggett scholarship.
I sat in on that meeting. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So
the sad thing is it's being hit for $175 fee a year. So that's 8-9% of the fund was expended just for the privilege of having it at UBS.
And think of the number that Walter just said, 8 or 9%, and you cannot maintain a corpus if you spend more than about 3 or 4% a year. So it's being depleted and drained simply on its fees alone.
Right.
It will go to zero, is what I'm trying to say. If you did nothing and you left it alone, it would go to zero. So, the amount of money is, as we've already brought up with what it's going to cost us in legal fees to just get the Capital Group stuff figured out, the Packard and the Ordway Cheney. Those are not much in them. We have very little. We don't have a lot of money in Ashland in our accounts. Okay, we don't. These trusts are not, they're more than in our personal checking accounts, but as towns go with invested funds, it is very, very small, very small. And we're trying to do our very best now to preserve what's there and move it in a positive direction. I think that that's been seen already with the Scribner Trust, because since going into Vanguard and saving on the fees and everything, it's really doing very well. Anyway, so I think it's going to be a happy ending, but it's taking us time as we continue to kind of dig things out. And having things at Vanguard will preserve the funds so much better and give us a better accounting and be able to see them all at the same time, not one nice statement, not tracking things down, and clearer for the trustees in the future, because, Walter and Lisa and I are not going to be doing this for the rest of our lives. And it will just be a much easier, clearer thing to follow. I don't have anything else to talk about. We need to get the transfers going. We need to get our checks signed. We've got a time for that. keep moving things forward to get us on the counts, Lisa on the counts and whatnot. Do we have any other business?
I have none. We've covered everything that I had.
So aside from our March 30th meeting, which will be considered a true meeting because we'll have a quorum there, and I'll post that. Our next trustee meeting, Lisa, we normally have been meeting on the fourth Monday of the month.
That's fine.
And that would be in June. And I got to change my glasses.
Right.
My special glasses.
I do think that if optimistically there's a time that we go back to meeting in person, we'll probably be doing the checks at the same time.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I have us down for June 28th at 7 p.m. And that is ideally it, Walter, that we would have them at that meeting. And that's the idea of telling the Board of Selectmen, when our meetings are quarterly like that. And
Yeah, because that's why we put our meetings at the end of the month.
Exactly. Gives them time. So then we have our next formal meeting on June 28th at 7 p.m. I will see you all on the 30th at the library, Ashland Town Library, to sign checks. And after the checks are signed, now let's think about this. After the checks are signed, we have to deliver them to Town Hall. Town Hall is closed.
Okay, they posted on the website this morning. I noticed that Town Hall now has
At Dropbox.
hours Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 3 to 5 p.m.
Okay.
However, there needs to be someone at the desk who is properly trained, bonded, etc., to accept money for deposit.
So Walter, those hours that you saw were for the town clerk tax collector.
Okay.
Okay.
What do we do with the checks after we sign them on the 30th is my question.
Right. I think the law states that they have to be presented to the town clerk.
I think you're right. We had this problem last time with Charlie.
Mm-hmm.
So the town clerk is there on, you said Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 3 to 5?
No,
Is it-
Monday.
Wednesday,
Not Monday,
Thursday.
Monday, Wednesday, Thursday,
Monday, Wednesday, Thursday.
3 to 5.
I am not available during those times.
Okay, I am. I can bring the checks on Wednesday, which is, they have to be deposited within so many hours of being presented.
Okay.
I have a secure location to put them, not that I'm thrilled with the idea of bringing them home, but they will be presented on Wednesday.
Okay, good. Yeah, because I work on Wednesdays and Thursdays. Those are my late nights. I
Right.
don't leave Waterville till about 5.
You know, I can do that on my way home. The only thing I can't guarantee is that whoever's staffing the office is able to accept the checks.
So I'll send an email to Catherine.
Okay.
About this and say, we just want to be sure that somebody is there who can take these, and what time would they be there?
Yeah, that would be great.
I believe that those hours that I was asked to post on the website, I believe those are hours that Patsy herself will be in.
Okay.
Okay, so
Thanks, Martine.
Yeah.
I'll just send an email then to Catherine and say that you'll be bringing them by
Okay.
Wednesday between 3 and 5 p.m. And,
Okay.
and
If Catherine responds and says, we prefer you put them in the Dropbox because the Dropbox is more secure for some reason, then that's fine too.
Yeah.
But I feel like they have to be physically handed to the town clerk.
It's going to be a lot of money. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
And I'll be long gone before anyone.
Yeah, right, Walter.
No, can't do that. Cannot do that.
Yeah. Not since you've already said it on a recorded meeting. I'm totally not worried.
And Lisa now has it in the minutes, so.
If your eyes had just lit up.
This down.
Okay, well, very good. Then I guess I'll see you all on the 30th.